CMPRadio.net. It's the station.
I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA. Cocaine quarter piece, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got power, poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA. I got hustle, though, ambition, flow inside my DNA. I was born like this, and born like this, immaculate conception. I transform like this, perform like this, wish out you a new weapon. I don't contemplate, I met.
What's up, bro?
What's happening, man? How's everything?
Hey, man, all is well. We back here doing it again.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? We let's go ahead and open this up. My name is Malcolm Yates.
And my name is Andrew Nelson.
And we're The Narrative. So I know it's been a minute, man, and we're circling back and
Right.
and wanted to have some real good discussion. So what's going on today, man? Anything you wanted to talk about? Or
Listen, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And especially since we last met, because I know we always say it's been a minute.
It has
But
been
I mean,
a minute.
legitimately, like this time, it's been a minute.
Yeah,
since
man.
we
It's
recorded,
definitely been a minute.
You know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a whole lot going on. But, you know, even though, like, it's a lot of different stuff, it's all the same old stuff, right?
It is, and it's always about the narrative, right?
Right.
It's everything
Always
that's been
the
going
narrative.
on is what's the narrative of it? How can we change that narrative?
Right.
How can we produce a new one? So it every time, and you know what's funny though, dog? Because I've been looking at things and
Yeah.
it's our name been coming up a lot, and it hasn't. I don't know if it's just because we had our show The Narrative, and now the narrative start to bring out. But every time I listen to the news, well, the narrative of this is that, and
Right.
well, I'm trying to change the narrative of,
Right.
of what's going on. And
Right.
I was just watching Power last night, and Tariq was on there, and he was like, "Yeah, man, the little boy died, the cousin died, and he's like, I gotta change my narrative."
Right.
And I'm like, "Dog, like,
Right.
it's
It was,
only
like, spot on.
confirmation is like us." Like
Yeah.
he's like, "I'm trying to change our narrative, and I want to change the narrative how my cousin died, and I want to change the narrative. People see me as this in school."
Right.
And I'm like, this young man talking the stuff that we talk about all the
Right.
time, man.
Right. It's that concept. I mean, I think it's everywhere. So I don't know. It could be a little bit of collective consciousness. It could be a little bit of that. Like, you know, once your mind is set on something, then you focus on it and you see it. I forget what the name of the particular bias is,
Yeah.
but it's the same concept. Like when you buy a new car, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember when I first got my
dog.
joint. Now all of a sudden I see that car
Once
everywhere.
I get the car, I see
Yeah.
it over and over and over again.
So-
And, yeah, you're right, because I'm thinking about a new car, and I keep seeing them all the time.
Right.
I'm like, okay.
But that's part of that, like where your mind goes, the energy is gonna flow. You know what
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean?
that's
So
true.
I think a lot of that has to do with that.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
Also, the good part about it is back to the original one, like this collective consciousness. Everybody's feeling it, man. Everybody understands that. Basically, how you present yourself really affects how you live. How
Yeah.
people, how it's like we said on the last show. You know, it's
People
like
perception is
you
their
give them-
reality.
yeah, it's the
Yeah,
reality,
man.
and we give them permission.
That's right.
On
Yeah.
how to interact with us and deal with us.
Yeah.
So now it's like, all right, if I'm gonna change my narrative, basically that's like leveling up. Like that's like your soul
Facts.
saying, I'm not comfortable with the way things are right now, and I want to take control over
But
it.
you know what, man? Going back to changing the narrative, though,
Yeah.
I think changing the narrative is a good thing. But sometimes I also feel like people may want to change their narratives or the narrative of their life to fit the mold of how society feels about them, right? And we were just discussing this earlier about, let's say, Senator Booker.
Right.
And you know how he's punished because he comes from, let's say, legacy.
Right.
He's punished because he comes from a two-parent background.
Yeah.
You know, he's punished because maybe he's a little lighter.
Right.
He's punished because he made the proper decisions in his life to get to where he is.
Yeah.
So then, you know,
He's like in this weird scenario. Right?
yeah,
Where
right.
it's
And
like
the community looks at him and be like, "Well, man, you're a little too polished.
Right. And I
you're-
can't relate to you."
Yeah, you're a little too on point with it. You ain't got too many blemishes. I can't get down with you like that.
Right.
But why is it that? Why are we punished by our success? Right.
Yeah.
Like the Cosby Show was made with a doctor and a lawyer, right? To get us to aspire to be that, to represent families that looks like that, right? Professional families, nuclear families that have a great household and upbringing. But when you get, when you get Theo Huxtable or you get Rudy and Vanessa in your real life,
Right.
we punish them.
Right. We treat them like they're outsider.
We punish them like they don't go through the same struggles and trials and tribulations that we have, carrying the same skin complexion.
Yeah.
Wow, what is that? Like, why do we do that?
It's dynamic. I think it's like the society taught self-hate, right? So right now we in a time of more or less worldwide European dominance, right? And for a long time, they set what was the standards of beauty, what were the standards of how I shall articulate myself. So more or less, they controlled the language arts, right? They control what the societal standards are pushing out in the media as forms of beauty, like I said already. They control the money, right? So ultimately, they control the mindset. So now it's like, all right, when you meet somebody and they're articulate and they're well put together, they come from a strong foundation, they think strategic, that kind of looks foreign to you when you grow up on the bottom, right? And then when you grow up on the bottom and you don't have like a lot of examples to look forward to or look to, you kind of like get used to what's around you, right? And then so that's in of itself a form of assimilation, but it's not necessarily an assimilation that's going to help you, right? So I think that that's going on, right? Like that self-hate, just simply put, just because it's like we taught that if you do a certain, or you speak a certain way or dress a certain way, then you subjugated to the bottom. And then on the flip side, if you put on a suit and you clean up your language, then now you have the potential to be successful. Yeah. I don't really think any of that matters. I think what really matters is how we think, how we move collectively, and from there we can set our own standards.
And it's also about like not just how you think, but going to how you move, and if your moves is something that's impactful for the betterment of the community, right? Because as long as I don't care how you dress or what you look like,
for sure.
I don't care if you in a 3-piece, suit or you in a hoodie, right? As long as your intentions is there and you identify with our plight and identify with what we had going on, and can be a proper representative. At a table, at that that metaphorical table, then I'm all in.
Agreed. And it's irrelevant whether I have on a suit or a hoodie, right? Because I'm still going to be just as effective. I'm still going to move from a position of intellect and a position of power, regardless of what I have on my body. Right.
And I struggle with that too, bro. Because we just discussed it. I end up at a fundraiser where everyone had suits on, and I had. Got the dates was mixed up. And next thing you know, I'm at this fundraiser in some J's, a sweatshirt, you know what I'm saying, and some jeans, right? And I felt out of place. But I was as effective as I was.
Absolutely. So that's the key, man. Understanding that. First of all, you as effective. So that feeling that comes from that same thought process that's driving this other thing where we reject people just because they're articulate or they come from a legacy background. Now let's pause there, right? Because you mentioned it earlier, and I think this is a time to highlight it. Like a legacy background, right? Ain't that what the goal is?
That's
right.
That's
Correct
the
me
goal.
If I'm wrong, right? But I didn't do all of it. Like what did
What are we doing this for? For nothing?
It's hard to remain the same?
No.
So we got to stop looking at it where it's like, all right, if you didn't come from the trenches, then you not certified. Like nah. Like, because all the person that didn't come from the trenches, that's the manifestation of the sacrifices.
Of the dream.
Yeah, that the people made before you to live and pursue this dream.
Like we're the manifestation of Martin's and Malcolm's dream, right?
Absolutely.
So doing this, you do things to build that legacy.
Right.
And that's the key of why wealth is so disproportionate between the two, right?
For sure.
Because the other side, what they do is they build the legacy and they pass it down and pass it down and pass it down. Because their family names mean something, right?
It's power.
And it's power.
Right.
But when it comes to us, it's, oh man, you only did that because it's your cousin. Right. Oh man, that's nepotism. Right. That's how the game was supposed to be. I was listening to Marlon Wayans. He's like, yeah, it's nepotism because that's why we built this.
Right.
Why don't you take care of your house, before you go out elsewhere.
Game of Thrones.
Right?
Right.
So if I am a business and inside of my business, I took my daughter to go to school to be a CPA, have my other daughter in school to have an MBA,
Right.
right? I have my wife in school and she does administrative work. Why wouldn't I hire all them?
Right, for
Why
sure.
would I look on the outside before I have them in?
Right.
Right?
And furthermore, why wouldn't I be strategic about it, right? Like where it's like, okay, my goal is either sector dominance, sector influence, or some kind of business, right? Or industry dominance or influence.
Yep.
And then from there, why wouldn't I say like, all right, sister, send your child to school for this, this, and this,
Facts.
right? Bro, send your child to school for this, this, and this.
Facts.
I'm gonna send my child to school for this, this, and this.
Facts.
Because we already know we posture in our business to take over this sector or this industry, right? And this is what we know that it's going to be on the outlook, on the horizon in the next 10 or 15 years
Word.
of the strategic skills that we're going to need.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
But now the second point. So the first part was society teaches us to hate ourselves, but then what's the other part, right? The people who control money, business, power, they already know that if they could keep us fighting with each other, then we can never collectively get together
Word.
to overthrow the status
Yep,
quo.
yep,
So
yep.
then that's the other part of it, right? So it's like I got to implement behaviors to where it's like I'm going to tear you apart and I'm going to tear you down. And me as the controllers of society, I'm pulling the levers to make sure that these positions are perfect so that you can fight against each other. I'm going to elevate one of y'all above another one and
Always.
create a certain class, right?
Always.
Because now that's going to divide you. And then I'm going to drive a highway right through your neighborhood, right? So you could be the west side versus the east side or whatever, right? So because that's going to divide you. And then I'm going to put you overall in this region that has low income and make you compete for scarce resources.
That's right. Because I'm going to pull
Right.
all the resources out and just trickle some down.
Right.
So then you can fight over it.
Right. So of course we sitting here fighting over somebody who appears to be the dream because one, it's a little bit of hatred in there, right?
Wow.
Because we not in the position where they at. But none of it's all of our fault. We're fighting against each other.
But it's not your it's not your road to travel.
Right.
You know, a lot of the times we keep looking at other folks and we're driving and we looking over here. That's not my lane.
That's not your lane.
Then don't get mad if he's zooming by. He's zooming by temporarily.
Right. I
Right.
show my kids that Michael Phelps photo all the time. The one where he's winning and his opponent is focused on him and Michael Phelps is focused on the finish line.
That's it.
I remind my kids of that all the time.
And we have to be collectively fixated on the finish line.
Absolutely.
We always looking at, damn, Drew just rolled by me.
Right.
Well, Drew.
How you see Drew?
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you not focused on your finish line?
You keep doing what you have to do
Right.
here, and don't get mad if he's there because at times you might slow up,
Right.
and I'll go past you, right? So we got to keep ourselves accountable to ourselves,
Yeah.
you know, in that type of situation because, you know, once we start getting distracted and start looking to the left and to the right, we slow down, then we start pulling you down,
Right.
and then we start pulling ourselves down, then we start eating each other up and eating at the collective goal, and we're stuck
Right.
at the same situation,
Right.
like we are.
So I think what can help us in this situation, well, first of all, we doing it right now. We talking about it, right? That's the main thing. Like, let's have these conversations, right? So now we having a conversation. So boom, smack dab in the middle of it. Why do we treat people who come from better backgrounds than us as if they're different, when in fact they're an ally? Right?
They're an ally.
Because
They're a
they're going to bring
representative.
diversity of thought to us, and they are a representative.
They are
Say it
they
again.
are who we crave to have in those rooms,
Right.
bro. Like when we sitting there, like I say all the time, with the protesters or the advocates always on the outside throwing the rocks at the windows, right?
Yeah.
And the only way to make changes is if we have to go inside.
Right.
Now they're the people on the inside.
They are.
So
Right.
if I'm on the inside and I can go to the window, kind of like remember Malcolm X on the movie, and he was going there and talking to the cops, and the cops was like, they was giving him a hard time, and they pointed out the window, and,
Right.
and they was all lined
Right.
up,
They were
and he did this
disciplined.
joint,
Right.
and they all rolled out,
Right.
And he was like, "There's no way, no Negroes had that much power."
Right.
That is in my mindset of how all of our elected members should be,
Right.
all of our leaders should be. You should be able to have the community behind you.
Right.
If you're going to be on the outside being an advocate, be on the outside, be there as a representative. So when I say, hey, if you don't, these people out here, here's my power. And if we don't have those people outside being collective with us on the inside, then where's the power? You're
Right.
throwing rocks at the window, they're gonna change the window.
For sure.
I'm inside talking about look,
or make it bulletproof.
or make it bulletproof,
to where
right?
your rocks are ineffective.
I'm inside talking about look, we got to do it for the people on the outside. But when I go out there, they don't even accept me, respect me, or care about me, right? Oh, you don't. Oh, man, you don't know us. You ain't from the hood. We don't. So then now I'm sitting here like, why should I continue to keep doing it?
Right.
Because honestly, this is probably why some politicians decide to change once they get in.
Right.
They get in, do the best for their people. Then when they try to go out and support their people don't want to mess with them no more.
So they feel like damned if they are.
So he's like, all right, I might as well just get down with the rest of the get down.
Right. That's so. What can bring us together? And I think, based on all of the stuff that I read and see in society, we need to get brought together based on the common problems that we have. Right. Because I think that'll make a difference. Because at the end of the day, as long as the individual who came from, look, let's just call it, as long as the Cory Booker profile, right?
Let's just call it that. Okay.
And let's say the Boosie profile, right?
Okay.
One thing they both got in common,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, no matter whether they came from wildly different backgrounds or not, one thing they both got in common
They
is
black.
they black. And the
can't
world gonna
change
see
that.
them as black men,
No matter what.
right?
No matter what.
Like Hove said. So I think we got to start uniting on that. Like we all have a common struggle, right? Maybe the person with that Hove got more money in his bank account than me, right? That's a fact,
Me too.
right? But
Absolutely.
when Hove walk outside, Hove get the same oppression. The difference is Hove got enough money to insulate himself from that oppression.
Yes, he does.
But only to an extent.
Only to an extent.
Only to an extent.
Yeah.
Right?
Because he goes somewhere where people don't know him. He's still a black man.
Right. Furthermore, even more
Or
than that,
when he goes
if he
into-
walks in a room with somebody with less money than him, that person with less money than him could very well potentially command more power of the room than him.
That's what I'm saying. So if he comes into a room with other billionaires,
Yeah.
he's still just a black boy.
Right. And then if he in the room with other billionaires, now he the little man on the pole.
You just
Right.
and you go through the same struggles.
Yeah.
Same struggles.
Now he's super oppressed. Because imagine Hove next to Bezos. Right?
yeah.
Now who flexing money now?
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're right.
So, yeah, we
right.
all got that in common. So I think we need to unite on that. At least I would pray that we could unite on that. And then we got to stop thinking individually, and we got to start giving people hand ups. Right? Everybody worried about the next person doing better than them, instead of worrying about all of us doing better together.
Yeah.
Right?
Because if you shine, we shine.
Right.
If I
'Cause our
shine,
light
you
is
shine.
brighter.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Or what Big Mama say, one little finger standing alone pointing and don't make no impact, but when you ball them fingers
Ball it up,
together,
make a fist.
it can make a mighty fist with
That's
a mighty
right.
blow.
Make a mighty blow.
Yeah.
You're right about that, man.
That's really our only power.
Yeah. And somehow we always continue not to see it that way.
Right.
Not to see it that way. And we always continuously like I don't want to say pull each other down, but want to tear each other apart.
Right.
And you shouldn't have to dissect it. And it kind of goes back into, the topic of what we were saying, the Cory Booker profile, always trying to having to figure out how to get support from the hood.
Right. Having to certify itself.
Why?
Yeah.
Why do we always have to get recertification, right?
Right.
What is it about us having to get that, I want to say that G check,
Yeah.
all right, that hood check that makes us thrive, right? It kind
I
of
think it might be like the desire for the sense of belonging.
it could be, right?
Like granted, he should be our representative, and as far as like high society or Babylon for the spiritual people, whatever perspective you want to have it, like wouldn't our representative, like that is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
We want to see us there,
Yeah.
But also, don't you sometimes want to see yourself represented in your representation?
Absolutely.
So not for nothing, right? It's worth saying that a lot of that has to do with that. Maybe if more, instead of it being a Cory Booker profile, maybe Cory Booker start taking on an Andrew Nelson or a Malcolm Yates profile.
I like
Right?
that. I like that. But also I don't think he should have to reach for that validation. I think that's the biggest problem that we have, and that kind of takes us to the transition of John Morant.
Yeah.
Right. This brother is a phenomenal talent. He
is.
He is Allen Iverson with Vince Carter put together. Like that's what I see him as, with a little splash of McGrady. Like this brother is all that.
Yeah.
Talent, phenomenal. he had two good parents, right? He didn't raise it in the projects. He didn't get brought up in hardship.
Right.
But somehow he still want to validate himself as maybe a hood, as a gangster.
Right.
Or he wants to get more accepted from the neighborhood. Maybe
Right.
he got blessed to be pulled from.
Right.
Why is that? Why
Yeah.
what is it about trying to get that validation means so much to us as a society, as a culture?
Yeah.
And that really kind of bothers me because, you know, it kind of goes back to the conversation we was talking about. Like, well, if he's a product of a two-parent great household, not saying two-parent, but just say a good household, right? Your parents made good decisions, put you up, put you on the right track.
Gave him the leg up that everybody wants.
Yeah. So if that happened to him, then and he always looking for that validation. What happens to our kids?
Yeah.
What happens to our kids that now they don't have to raise in the projects? What happens when they have parents that love them and support them and put them in good schools and make sure that they don't have this and they don't have to go through sleepless nights or hunger and things like that? So now is my little daughter Camille and Mari, are they not as black now
Right.
because I made good decisions?
Right.
Are you looking at my daughter now as a sellout or Oreo or whatever the names that they give because they had a leg up and I made sure that she made the right decision and put her on the right path?
Right.
So now are we charged for that?
Right. I was just talking to Troyana about this today, right? Dropping my son off not dropping my son off, going to my son's karate belt ceremony, right? And our daughter had an incident in school.
Okay.
Right? Now, fortunately, nothing came of it or whatever, but it was a little tussle in the bathroom. But our daughter realized, like, you know, that she talks a lot tougher than what her reality is. Now, mind you, they all in private school.
Her
so
bark,
ain't none
her
of them-
bark
ain't none of them
bigger
tough.
than her bite, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But anyway, so now the conversation comes up as far as like self-defense and, you know, whether we should pursue that or not. And then so I asked her, I said, so now let's start here, right? I believe that everybody should be trained in some kind of martial art
Oh,
for
just some type of
self-defense,
discipline,
right? Some
absolutely.
type of discipline, because I think that there's a lot that goes to character as far as learning that. But now with that being said, we're not really raising our kids. So I said to her, I was like, well, you know, how important is it if you're not really going to be operating in the streets, right? Because there's a lot of people that go their whole life never getting into a real fight. Now, that's not our reality.
That's not
right?
our reality. I mean,
because
yeah.
that's where we grow up at. We grow up in a different kind of
Tight
concrete
quarters,
jungle, right?
fighting for resources.
Yeah.
Fighting for
Concrete
acceptance.
jungle.
Exactly. Go. Huh?
So, but if we raising our children to ascend beyond the jungle, is it really even worthwhile putting such a emphasis on survival in the jungle? Now, but that's that. So sidebar, I was just talking about that. But bringing it back, what I really wanted to touch on, you said, what is it that caused it? Hove, he said, the allure of the game keeps calling my name. All the lures in the world. I feel your pain. All the Christies in every cities and Tiffany lanes. We all hustlers in love with the same thing. It's just a life. That spoke to me. Because I could understand that, right? Who are the hood heroes, right? And they don't look like Cory Booker. They look
don't.
a lot more like Boosie.
They look a lot like
So
Boosie.
now when you know rap is moving and influencing culture,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you know that when you see these rappers who have street credibility are pushed to the forefront, that ties into a little bit of the narrative that's being pushed, right? Because it's not without mistake that Cory Booker is not in the limelight as being the example.
He
of
should
Boosie.
be.
Oh, I agree.
My man's been in term
And
for
maybe now
8,
that
12 years
Tyler
now?
Perry and Byron and all of them are bidding to buy BET, maybe we'll have some programming that will actually push forth what leadership should look like.
That's right.
Right? Shout out to CMP Radio for controlling the narrative and giving
That's
us a
right.
voice
Hey,
to
amen.
be able to have
That's
our
right.
own programming.
That's right.
That's for us, by us. Word to FUBU.
For us, by
Right?
us on the
And-
low.
But maybe on a national level now, BET will have that. But as it stands right now, I think that the street stuff is glamorized because it's what builds economics for people who control the economy and
Yeah.
who are invested in the private prison population.
Yeah.
So that's why John Moran is struggling, because he's not getting the acceptance and the love because he doesn't look like a different profile that's glamorized.
Yeah, you're right. 'Cause I think it goes back to the duality of being black.
Yeah.
Right. You got you got your street side and you got your corporate side.
Right.
And as I was looking, and we watch TV a lot, and we was looking at all the shows, and all the shows seems like you got glorified gangsters who's trying to switch over to be businessmen.
Right.
Right. And if you ever see that,
Bumpy
it's
Johnson.
always, Bumpy Johnson with that, right? BMF trying to do it.
Right.
Power trying to do it, right?
All of them, all of the
Yeah.
powers.
All
right?
the powers is
Power
about
universe.
being in business and being
Yeah.
a gangster. And it kind of just dawned on me now is like, well, can that duality continue to exist? Can you be both?
Yes.
Can you, because
Absolutely,
because
'cause-
the T.I. John he had an interview. He's like, yeah, man. He said yeah, I'm a trapper on one day,
Right.
a family man all the time,
Right.
a businessman this part of the time. I go to church and then I might gonna lead a march, and then I might kiss your girl, and then
Right.
all exists and it's just me.
Right.
And I
Right.
was like, damn,
Own it.
I agree with that.
Was Lucky Luciano a politician when the United States reached out to him
No.
to use his capacity to
No.
save World War II?
No,
What was he?
he was a gangster
And a politician.
and a politician. Yeah.
Why can't the duality exist for both? Did the American, did the
No, you're
Italian
right.
mob convert in a county called Delaware County illegal drug money into operational businesses that controls commerce today?
Yeah, I hear
All
you.
right.
So the
So why can't
duality can do
dualities exist?
so the duality can exist.
Yeah.
But why are we always the one that tells? Why are we always got to be apologetic for either side?
Because we don't control shit.
And that's why we got
Because
to
we don't
control
control no
our narrative, right?
media.
Yeah.
We don't control our businesses. We don't
Because I
control our
believe
industry.
inherently, as a folk, we all have a both, a little bit of both.
For sure.
And it just depends on how you was brought up. One sways more than the other, right?
Oh, that's a proverb. You got two wolves inside of you, right?
Okay.
And which wolf you feed with your content is the one that's going to get stronger.
Damn.
When I first heard that, mine was blown, and that's the realest thing I ever heard.
And that's us as a that's us as a
Yeah.
people.
Right.
Whatever way you're, it's like the seasoning. Whatever season you sprinkle in more, you're gonna. That's the dominant flavor. And as all people who, like, let's say professional folks, they got some hood in them. You talk to them, right?
For sure.
Like, don't get it twisted, right? And
Right.
then some hood folks, they can surprise you with a lot of business acumen and a lot of professionalism.
Right.
So don't get that twisted.
Right. At all.
So what we
LeBron James.
perfect
His whole
example
team.
of being down the middle.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that we all have to. I think our goal in life is to try to get to that. If this is the middle, try to get to the middle
Right.
as much as possible. You don't, and that's only for your internal middle, not for everyone else. Don't live for social.
So am I hearing you
standards.
say balance?
That's called balance.
All right.
So the narrative of life is finding the balance.
Right. And that's supported by physics.
Yeah, absolutely.
You ever wonder why the wind blow?
Nah, I never really thought about that.
I have.
Okay.
Right. And then so I took this course.
What they used to say was God sneezing or something like that.
Yeah. Whatever kind of
Or blowing his nose or something like
So
that.
you know what it really is?
No, what's up?
It's an equilibrium quest, right? That is the air going from one high area of high pressure to an area of lower pressure to provide balance. Balance is encoded in God's DNA. God,
DNA.
Yahweh,
Whatever you want to call it.
yeah, whatever name you're looking for, right? The Creator,
That's right.
The universal code that we have. Balance is embedded in that.
Wow.
Right? And as long as our energy, the people on Earth, as long as we're out of balance, thus will every fruit from the earth be as well.
Hey.
Right?
I like that, man.
So I think you spot on when you say that, bro.
So we
like
gotta find the
absolutely
balance.
internal balance. How we find that? Meditation. Another plug.
Prayer, absolutely. Yeah. Meditation.
Yeah.
So I think we hit it today, bro.
Absolutely, man.
I think we hit it today on balance
Right.
with everything. So balance between the hood,
Right.
between Harvard,
Right.
balance between
Who we accept as black,
Exactly.
because we could be all of it.
we all of
Right?
it. We all of it.
Brian Gumble is just as black as Boosie.
Exactly, because when
Right.
we're outside, bro, we all still black.
Right.
That's one thing we cannot self-identify
And
with.
we not a monolith.
Nope.
Right? Like I could love anime and comic books, right? And I can speak articulate.
That's right.
Right? And then I can go home and put on trap music.
Exactly.
And listen to jazz. And my mom liked Luther
That's right.
without the curl.
Facts.
Whether I like trap music
Or
all
not.
day or
And my balance is too. It's ratchet and righteousness, right?
Yeah.
And I can go and put some Master P on, or I can put on some Marvin Sapp.
for sure.
However you want to
Right.
do it.
Right.
That's the balance. Well, listen, man. This was a good one, man.
It was, man.
We're gonna wrap this one up for today. My name is Malcolm Yates,
And my name is Andrew Nelson.
and this is The Narrative.
This is my heritage, all I'm inheriting, money and power.